Live from the Cactus Creek at Ibri, he is the king of prime time, Ghana's undisputed entertainment laureate, and still the youngest old man in Ghana. Put your hands together, show some love for the indefatigable KSM.
The KSM Show.
Thank you very much, folks. Thank you very, very, very much. You know me. I always say that the best part of my job is that I have the audacity to come to your house and invite you in your house to be my guest. And that's exactly what I'm doing today. You won't believe who I am, and you won't believe who my guest is. Well, I'm in the house of the, should I say famous, Freddie Blay. Show some love for Freddie Blay. Yes. And you know, he has been Deputy Speaker back to back 3 times, chairman of the party. He's been with the MPP. He is with the MPP. Pardon my, he's with the MPP. And he's my guest today. And we're going to have a lot of chat. So show some love for my good friend and an old family friend, Freddie Blay. Freddie, do I have permission to call you Freddie?
Of course.
Or I should call you Mr. Blay?
Call me Freddie.
I should call you Freddie?
Yes.
Freddie is really good to...
Better still, Wesimewu.
Better still?
Wesimewu. That's my middle name. My real name.
Wesimewu?
Wesimewu Blay.
Really? Wesimewu?
Yes.
We're going to take a short commercial break. When we come back, I'm going to ask you to tell me the meaning of Wesimewu. Sounds very interesting. Let's take a short commercial break. When we come back, tell your friends to call a friend that today on the KSM Show, I have Freddie Blay, and we are going to have a great conversation. Stick around. We'll be right back.
The KSM Show.
Is it the luxurious rooms? Or the serene green surroundings? Is it the tempting swimming pool? Or the classy conference room? Or the cute gift shop? Maybe it's our chef's array of cooking delights. Whichever way, it's all about Cactus Creek. A most respected hotel. 055 039 5007.
KSM Show.
My name is Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo. I have almost been following the program of KSM for the past 20 years. It's a program I've always been watching carefully. In fact, before he came on Pan-African, he used to be on another station, I can't remember now, where the program had been so interesting. And I will call on all Ghanaians who are very much interested in objectivity and also the history of this country. We always watch this program. It's a program that is educative and very, very, very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. We're back, and I'm coming here today, coming to you from the house of Mr. Freddie Blay. Mr. Blay, the name, Wesimewu.
That's right.
which translated directly is they say I'm dead.
They say I'm dead.
Why?
That's a great grandfather was had traveled. He's called Blay, of course. He had traveled outside the Nzima area and gone to Pristia, thereabout in the mines. And the telegram came that he was gone. And when he came back, everybody was running away from him. So the nickname stuck.
Oh, I see.
Oh, Blay Wesimewu. Wesimewu. So everybody called him Wesimewu. Wesimewu Blay. Great grandfather, and it ran down to me, and I loved it. They gave it to me.
Wow.
And I loved it. But people would rather call me Freddie. It's easy to pronounce. But indeed, I prefer the Wesimewu Blay.
Wesimewu. Okay, then I'll call you.
At some time, I thought in school they broflize it to make it Westmao. Westmao also, but it's Westmao. Freddie Ama Westmao Blay.
So I'm going to call it Westmao.
Westmao, if you can.
Great. So let's start this conversation because we have so much that I want to talk to you about. Yes. And in a few weeks, we are going into the election. And I think it's a very consequential...
Less than 2 weeks.
Less than 2 weeks, look at me. Yeah, a very consequential election. And first of all, I think it would be silly for me to ask you, where do you stand? I think it is quite clear.
Of course I stand.
Yeah.
Where you should know I stand.
Well, yeah, I know you stand there. And before then, well, we'll get to that. But this is a very consequential election.
Yes.
And from where I sit, it looks like your party is in a bit of trouble, unless I'm completely wrong. What's your take?
I believe you are wrong. And but of course, the way you see it from where you sit, fortunately, that's what you say. And from where I stand.
Oh, you stand.
Where I stand. I think it's an election, yes. It's not too easy because of the global environment and what has happened within these 3 or 4 years. It's not easy for any government in power, particularly all over the world. It's been difficult because people don't want to say it, but it's the COVID brought along its own challenges. And if the war in Ukraine had shot up prices of fertilizers, iron, rods, this, that, and oil had come up, of course, consequentially, there would be prices hike. And that, people don't see it sometimes. They blame any government of any community that you made life a little difficult for them and so forth. It's a question of management. It's a question of rapport. It's a question of how you communicate. But sometimes it's difficult. People don't see it that way. And therefore, for every government, incumbent government, will face challenges. And that's what we are going through. But all in all, Ghanaians are very discerning. And quite often, some may not understand, but the great majority will see what government has been doing compared to what other West African countries particularly, and indeed Africa, the developing world, because of what it's hit us so hard. But we will overcome. I'm convinced we will overcome. At the end of the day, we see the light of day. It will be such a pity if we don't see it that way and what has begun, because the story has been clear. Before COVID, we were doing well, 7 to 8 GDP growth. Of course, COVID sent it down to almost 0. Now that COVID is gone and we've put our act together and ready to move after the initial and 2 or 3 years difficulties. I'm not saying it. The World Bank has said it. Our own Bank of Ghana has said it. The GDP is 6.9 to 7.1. It's growing. So it means It's not an issue of incompetence. It's not an issue of mismanagement. It's not of incapacity of government that has been voted, has been in power for this long. But the difficulties, in spite of the difficulty, we are moving up. This should be our story. I'm not going into what the government has been able to achieve within the time, the social intervention, what is done, the bold policies that we're not distracted from, or even our development partners did not insist on. Investor community still. Of course, internally we've had a problem. One of the problems that I thought was hard to take was a haircut. People who have saved treasury bills, bonds, particularly pensioners and co, who had to endure a haircut and so forth. In this country, other than that, our economy will have dipped. In spite of that, I believe the voter is sympathetic and will be discerning. And other than that, it could have been a walkover. But be it as it may, we live to see. 2 weeks, the result will show.
Will show. So you're very, very confident that the Ghanaian will go to the polls. Absolutely confident that let us repose our trust again in the MPP. That's the level of cutting.
A greater majority of Ghanaians.
You've told a great story, and I guess that is what we'll expect from you. You know, that yeah, things are not as bad as people are claiming.
KSM. It's not expected from me. I'm saying these are the objective facts. Maybe if you disagree with me, that's fair. But let's
look at the objective facts.
Objective facts.
Some of the objective facts.
Yes.
Mr. What's it?
Facts are figures.
Is the levels of corruption that we have experienced in this country, is the seeming dismissive nature of what the government has been, and basically to the point that corruption, Ghanaians have seen more corruption than they have ever seen. These are some of the facts too that people have come up with figures.
No, this is perception.
It's perception.
Perception. It's not a figure. Figures, then we will, as it is, examine them. We will talk about them if you come out with the figures. But as I said, the perception. You see, it's one of the difficulties, frustrating difficulties that any incumbent government sometimes in our part of the world will face will be. It's easy to label a government that this is it, you are corrupt, you are this and that. That is very easy because people see that a government, a minister, let's say it's 4x4. What I mean by 4x4 is an SUV with a policeman sitting in front. And when you look at it that way, you may say, look, we voted for him and he's now himself is alone, enjoying. When you sit in a SUV car driving around, when you fly out of the country for a conference here and there, they say you are even in a business class. And so it's easy for people to label you from that angle. And it's not easy to defend yourself or to argue with anybody who looks at it. And the day before yesterday, I was in Takrady on the radio program. Somebody comes and said, I'm eating Gary here. Eating Gary and Chilam. All this while, you people have been in power and life has not improved. It's when somebody attacks you from that angle, it's difficult to even argue. The person is sitting Chinam and Gary. If you are not careful, you may be rude. You don't want to tell him that, well, Chinam and Gary, we've been eating Chinam and Gary. From the day that some of us grew up, it's been what we eat sometimes. Of course, the indices should be clear. What are you going to school? Are roads okay? Are hospitals can be treated? Are we having employment? To me, these are the issues that we will need to really examine, and then talk about a policy level. As I told you, our GDP, is it Some will even ask you, stop bringing money into my pocket. This is what I say. When somebody says stop bringing money into your pocket, what do you say? Unless you want to be cheeky. Do you think I should, what government is to come and pack your pocket with CDs or what? So you got to be very careful. They feel it. They say they don't feel it. Sometimes they don't feel it. It is imperceptible sometimes. Even when some governments have been voted and they are doing well with regards to the figures, numbers, indices, they will say they don't feel it, and they may even vote against you. It's happened in some developed world. But over time, then of course, comparison comes in. But as I said, it's not easy to manage a country. It's not easy to husband the economy. But this government has done well. All it has to do is to increase its communication, to increase the way you interact with the people, let them understand that what is happening. Keep them along. You don't forget.
No, I'm following you. What's me?
Yes.
I'm following you.
Yes.
But in terms of the communication, when it gets to the point that people feel that what is being said is being dismissed, very dismissive. Now, check the GDP. Haven't we done better than the whole government? Check this, check this. Isn't that dismissive? And is it all about GDP and the figures? Because
I won't hold brief for anybody who is dismissive. Any government official was cheeky and dismissive about it. It's, as I said, it's communication and attitude. There are individuals. We all have different approaches to everything else. You asked me a question that seemed to be hitting me in the nozzle. I might have to take time to answer it. You've just even mentioned a couple of minutes, seconds ago that the massive corruption and this, I say it's more perception than real. Although, let me admit, or concede, it's a canker. Corruption, not only in our parts of the world, but all over in the world, among people who are in charge of resources, distribution, execution of programs, projects, who happen sometimes to line their own pockets, but not all. Corruption in this country, it's a serious problem, serious canker that we need to tackle. And when you talk about corruption, saying from all institutions, I don't want to leave any out, and I don't want to particularly mention one. But it's a challenge that has eaten deep. It's a subculture. You see somebody who normally cannot afford a huge house before you realize it. It's on the front pew in a church, is donated. Go to his village, what is put up, massive. And you realize that what he got is more than what he receives. It's not only a politician. It could be a police officer, it could be a judge, it could be a custom officer, it could even be a taxi driver. And you wonder, in other jurisdictions where things are formalized very seriously, if you're a taxi driver and you have so many places you are sleeping, it's above your income and co. Maybe tax officers will come to you, tell us how you come by it and so. If they examine it, they may think you are in drugs. They may think you are involved in some other, stealing somebody's money, or you have gone to somebody's, hacked into somebody's account and taken it up. If you are a judge and if you are going on holidays repeatedly, living in, they would find out what is happening. They could examine you and find out that you are maybe earning something that you are not paying taxes. They are not saying you are corrupt, but they may say you're not paying taxes on your earning, your extra earning. This, over time, with digitization, will be taken care of. But it's been with us for a while. It eats up over 30% or more than 30% of our GDP in terms of its expenditure on capital development and infrastructure development, everything else. It takes so much, and it makes people frustrated, particularly ordinary people. But Unfortunately, in this country and elsewhere in Africa as well, those who may criticize immediately get opportunity, they are doing worse and getting what to do.
That is
That's
exactly,
unfortunate.
yeah.
And
Yeah, and I agree with you. What's my?
my?
I agree with you.
Yes.
You know, and would you also agree to what people say is that the exact things that were also, like you were saying, you know, complained about, is now what is happening? The exact things that was complained about in terms of the corruption, the this, the that is happening now?
If you are not careful, as I said, you may be dismissive over it. You will see. So those who are in the path don't see what is going on behind them. But occasionally, you got to sit back and do introspection and see what this is happening and this is not happening. And if you can do something about it, it's good. The best thing which I think our government, and then Nana Addo Bawumia has done, is that institutions that could keep an eye on these things, you need to resource them. You need to empower them. And when I talk about institutions in this country, I'm talking about the judiciary, which may not even totally be innocent of accusations that we are leveled against others, particularly individuals. You talk about SHRAG, you talk about public prosecution or prosecutor, you talk about the police, you talk about all other democracy institutions that we could talk about. If you empower them, give them resources, they do the checking, they blow the whistle, they will quickly alert that this is what's happening. If you do so, I'm not depending on individuals. The individuals, if you are not careful, your own brother and sister, your own cousin, which you say you are doing something good, may be involved in something else that you cannot defend, you cannot explain. And when you leave it to the institutions which are independent, which are aloof and can handle situation without reference to you, that's okay. And I'm saying the only way we can go it, digitize it. You have your card, your only one account or two accounts. You have only 3 telephones. They can check it. Now, what are you putting on your account, or what do you have in your earnings? This will cut out ghost workers. This will make sure that if you are earning a million cedis a month, it doesn't matter where you are earning it from. They could check and pay. You pay taxes. If you have to pay taxes on what you are earning, where did you earn it from? All these things will come into play. Then, of course, that institutionally we are checking corruption. I won't depend on you. Don't depend on me. As I said, we are human beings.
Yeah.
But if you want to talk about even the leadership, then I would say that at the moment that we are going to election, we are offering Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. I have said it somewhere that it's clean, almost like a calico. You can show it. It's all his professional career and co. He's conducted himself in such a good manner, clean manner, unless you can prove to me, unless your perception that he's a liar. And they say dismissively. That's what happens.
You've talked about perception quite a number of times.
That's right.
And you're right. Yeah. But you're a politician, and a very consummate one as such. And the politician knows that perceptions are as deadly as facts.
I'm glad you said deadly.
Yeah. Deadly. And you know, currently, for example, you just said that how you believe that under Nana Addo institutions have been strengthened, you know, and you cited a few.
Yes.
Yeah. What is said on the ground, maybe it's from where I stand or sit, but what is said on the ground is that the institutions have been strengthened in a way that they have been partisan. You know, I don't know whether it is right or wrong, but Ghanaians, rightfully or wrongly, call the Supreme Court unanimous FC. And some say that they are biased, then once it's in the Supreme Court, the government is playing home. Why would the court no go away? And there's always home court advantage. No, so I'm talking about, yes, there are independent institutions that the government can strengthen, but when you strengthen them and the people outside are complaining that this has been strengthened to give it a certain flavor that leans towards the ruling party. What's your reaction to that?
You're talking to me, let me say that by profession, I'm a lawyer. And I'm a little bit sensitive, and of course I know a little bit more than what people say. It is, you know, the criteria for going onto the bench and rising to the top of Supreme Court. It's a very serious transition to that pinnacle of the judiciary in this country. It's easy for some of us, the politicians, to paint it. The other day I had my very good friend, Barbin, who is head of one of the institutions, talking about the parliament. Say, you've got to be circumspect. If you call it, say that Supreme Court is a sinner, that is the judiciary is a sinner, in bed with the executive, doing things. If you're a high politician, what I mean by high politician, accomplished and seen by many people, I said, you be a bit careful. How do you get to the Supreme Court? They don't pick people from the street. You've got to be 10 years at the bar. That is as a practicing lawyer, not even at the bar, but where? If you are at the magistrate court and you meet to the circuit court and then you move over to a high court, before you get that place. In fact, the government haven't got too many choices to appoint people there from there. And those who are appointed there, they go through vetting by Parliament itself. Parliament set up a committee, examine them. And in most cases, unanimous. Most cases, one or two cases which happen not only under our jurisdiction, in the US, elsewhere. You are vetted and approved of a different institution. And when you get there, yet individuals say that it's been 5-0. This, if the case that appear before them, they don't go and pick cases that are brought before them, examine them. Invariably, it's not political cases that come. Political cases maybe 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 20. But most cases, land cases, commercial cases, marriage, this, that, that's where it will land at the end of the day. But when people have the lenses and look at only 1 or 2 cases that appear that they say political, and there are other jurisdiction even to avoid even that labeling, they make it look like that they put a few people from the various organs. That if it's Supreme Court that sit on political cases may be made up of not just lawyers or not just judiciary, but they bring some from executive, some from the legislature, and some other institutions that then they form what you call it, the case constitutional court that may pronounce on issues that has some kind of relation with some political decision here and there. They are human beings. You may label them. In America, it's beautiful to watch the American Constitution and how it behaves at the Supreme Court. Sometimes they say this man is pro-abortion, this man is against abortion. They are human beings, and they may come out to support their position they hold over time. In our case, few cases of politics, very few, and yet we are quick to talk about it. We don't talk about all other development, all other laws that they are sitting on and pronouncing and making it look like as a decision, precedents, and so forth. So it's easy, but as I said, it's still perception, and the perception sometimes I would prefer those of us who are in leading position, those of us who find ourselves at the top of some institutions and the society, our community respect you, your opinion, and co. You should be a bit careful and don't rush and label. That's the highest institution in terms of justice. They are partisan, they are this. I think it doesn't help. It doesn't serve anybody any good.
What's Mewu? I agree with what you're saying, but I'm listening to you and I'm like, yeah, what you're saying is right. In the ideal circumstances, the judge who has been selected to go to the Supreme Court has gone through the mail.
That's right.
So when they get there, they've earned it.
Absolutely.
In the ideal situation. But we live in a culture and in these parts of the world where if the judge of the Supreme Court has gone through the channel, but happens to have been the mate of the president, or happens to have worked in his chambers, or happen to have run with him in the same party, these are other considerations that come in. So I'm saying, yeah, I understand the ideal path that you're talking about. But realistically, is that what we see? Don't we see situations where sometimes people are appointed almost as a thank you offer?
As I said, I don't have an answer to what you are talking about. As I said, I've gone through with you to say the way you even get to that top to go to the appeal court or to go, or the bar sometimes nominates. I've been one, there's the bar.
Yeah.
When I say the bar lawyers in this country, maybe it is the cream say that we are convinced this young man or this old man deserves to be there. We appoint him. There are factors, some of which you enumerated could be sometimes out of this, because we live on earth, we live among ourselves. So we don't bring people from Mars or elsewhere.
Definitely.
We are among us. You have classmates, you go to school.
Yeah.
You have family friends.
Exactly.
Like me and you.
Yes.
I know you. You are my family friend. Doesn't mean that you are interviewing me because we are friends. You've interviewed others. You've done all others. But of course, there is a chord that is struck between you and me. And this is a little society. It's a small community. But as the society develops, this happens like that. People get to know each other at the top. They know. They are friends. And the facts and the law are objective. Sometimes you got to be, unless you want to mess yourself up, unless you want to subject yourself to ridicule and so forth, you must, your own conscience should drive you to decide on what you want to do. Unless you say, I don't want to have anything to do with my conscience. So please, I agree. There are some of these factors, some of these issues and facts that you are referring to that drive sometimes our perception to the extent that now even people say that I don't believe in the law. I don't believe in anybody else. I don't, unless you want to live elsewhere. Unless you want to live in your own world, in your own island. But even you, your thinking, your attitude, shaped by what you go through, what you live in, what you see, how you feel, what you read, all these things go into shaping our own attitude towards things. And I'm saying it's at a certain stage that you tend to remove yourself from such prejudices. I hope at that level that we're talking about, let me be very honest with you and sincere. To a great extent, they are doing well.
Well, it's time for a commercial break, so we're going to take a commercial break. I'm hanging out with my own man, Wosimewu, and he's a guest of mine in his house. We're taking a short commercial break. When we come back, more questions for Wosimewu. We'll be right back.
The KSM Show.
Is it the luxurious rooms? Or the serene green surroundings? Is it the tempting swimming pool? Or the classy conference room? Or the cute gift shop? Maybe it's our chef's array of cooking delights. Whichever way, it's all about Cactus Creek. A most respected hotel. 055 039 5007.
KSM Show.
I am Alan Shematin, the founder and leader of the Movement for Change and also the leader of the Alliance for Revolutionary Change, otherwise known as the Butterfly Movement. Please keep on watching the KSM Show. This is not just because he's my brother, but he's the greatest of all. Keep watching KSM.
Thank you very much. We're back, and we are in the house of the distinguished Freddie Blay, or right now, as I call him, well, not I call him, as his name is, Wasimeu. Thank you so much. And I've listened to you, and in a large extent, I do agree with you, but our systems, our culture, and everything about us make some of these laws quite different when it comes to a strict application. And so I understand you, but I think too that, and you tell me because you are a more accomplished politician, I am not, this fact that perception is playing, how does a politician convince the people that what you are thinking is not true? For example, I remember way back when I was in New York at Chepa. They had the mayor then, Mayor Koch.
Yes.
And every year he would do some kind of appearance to the public and he says, how am I doing? So that the people of New York would tell him how he's doing. His good, his bad, whatever. But they tell him. But when we reverse it, in our parts, it's the government that tells the people how they are doing. Tell you guys you are doing well. Mohumu GDP. Say. And the person who is in it says, no, I know the figures, but what I'm going through isn't. You know, and it's not a perception per se, it's the reality. How do you respond to something like that?
That's a very difficult question. A difficult question for me to react to. What we're saying is that nothing in our society is perfect. And more so, as you said, within our own circumstance. In the sense that you mentioned U.S. and the governor, or is it?
The mayor of New York City.
He will come up and meet the people. And of course, the Americans, if it's some hall, they call it
Town hall.
Town hall, and then have an interaction. But in some cases, people are a little cynical about it. Sometimes he will gather with some people for them to do that. In our parts of the world too, sometimes people have you go to for parliamentarian, you go to your constituency, you have you meet the villagers, you meet the towns. In the towns, you meet the people who are there, the chiefs. You go and visit them. If you want to be a good politician, you go to them. And then they also converse with you. In some cases, if they won't tell you publicly, they call you to the chief will call you into his chamber to tell you, look, we are not happy what is going on here. But it's almost always bread and butter. It's almost bridges. It's almost always roads. It's almost, hospital. And so the difficulties that we face in our part of our world, the struggle for existence, govern, determine, and almost rule over whatever we are doing. It's struggling to survive itself. And therefore, that's what normally will occupy our attention. Good governance, of course, is around. It emanates from good governance. But everybody will even say that there was a time, I remember, if I'm giving you a good example, somebody was being tried for having chopped, or if you like, misapplied, or taking state money to involving millions. And then when he was being tried, his chief, people from his own community, and they put themselves in a car and came to say that, please, this is our man. Even if you chop the money, you use the money, part of it, the money to give us this and that. So please, if anything at all, tamper justice with mercy and co. It happens like that. See, but I won't say that it's only typical of our society. Everywhere else, in various forms, it happens. But accountability is important. What you said is about accountability. Government officials or those in responsible positions who have responsibility over whatever we do, more so about resources and co, should be accounted. Government give contract, government controls more than two-thirds or three-quarters of our resources in terms of creating wealth and distributing it and executing all other things that can bring wealth and let it spread. They are in control, so they must be the people that ought to be most accountable. And that's what I'm saying, that we should create institutions. Obama came to tell us that have more stronger institutions.
We need strong institutions.
But we are getting there. Digitization will provide it, so that even when we are spending from our budget, people can read it, people can see it. What is the money going? They can trace it, track it, and therefore you can't hide it. If you're hiding and pushing it into my pocket, you will know that's what's happening. Why are you giving a chunk of money into Blay's account when it's done has nothing to do with this project that we are building? I have a feeling, give us 2, 3, or 4 years, if Bawumia is in charge, this will turn out better.
There are certain things.
I keep on saying that.
Yes.
Excuse me. That's why I stand.
Yeah.
You know it. You told me that from the beginning.
Yeah. No, there are certain things you have thrown out there, especially Bawumia, who is a candidate,
Yes.
And I think it will be fair on my part to ask him, not you. But since you threw it out there,
I'm glad. I'll answer what I can.
Fantastic.
Because I've thrown it at you.
Yeah, thank you.
Great.
And I've received it. And
I'm ready to receive.
Yeah.
Any question?
The perception.
Yes.
And you call it perception.
Yes.
But not even perception. Well, the perception that we have with Bawumia is that he doesn't know how to level with us. The perception we have with Bawumia is that he plays to the gallery. I want to be president. What do I do to be president? Let me make promises. And then people will come up and say, these promises, they are all untrue. I won't say a lie. They say they are untrue. Based on his own track record. For example, when he gets on radio and says that one of the best and the most accomplished things that the MPP has is the Pualugu Dam, and governments have talked about it, but he is the only MPP that has been able to complete it.
The most important project here in the north since independence, a Pualugu Dam project.
Okay.
Is the biggest investment. Say we're drawing books no more since independence.
Okay. As I watch it.
How I check government be by say Pualugu Dam. But we're here as a signature project and in Ebeda #1. So there's no doubt about that.
And then the Auditor General says that 12 million was given for that. And then we realized that it hasn't been done. And now that running as a candidate, he says, oh yeah, but when I come back, I'll do it.
I was championing the Pualugu Dam. We have not yet been able to do it. But by the grace of God, I believe we are going to do the Pualugu Dam. It has to be done.
What's my way?
I don't. You put it. You as it you embellish it and put it at me like that. After he said
I've
this,
embellished
he came and he says
No, that's what he said.
I'll come and do that.
That's what
you
he
even
said.
mentioned. Let me start from the beginning.
Please.
What you said some of the promises is made are untrue. I don't understand what you mean by promises. If I say I'll do this tomorrow, and you say it's untrue, I haven't even reached tomorrow and say it's untrue. I find it difficult to react to that.
No,
but
can I give you an example? Okay,
great.
or you finish.
Great, I will allow you.
Okay.
It's your show. So,
no, it's my show, but I am fishing my guest, and it's the opportunity for my guest
That's right.
to talk. So it's not my show that way. I will show us in a way.
Yeah, because you mentioned it. Now, what I'm saying is you've taken one issue out of context. I must be honest with you and sincere with you. The details of what you talk about Malogu, I cannot sit in here pretend that I'm on top of it, that one. But in the main, almost all the things that the man is saying, he's been able to accomplish as a vice president, but he didn't complete them all as an individual. He did that as part of a government, and therefore takes responsibility alongside the MPP government under the leadership of Nana Addo Bawumia, of which I've been part of, and I'm very proud that so far, so good. Irrespective of what, when you sit where you sit and you look at it, and I say sometimes, even though we are involved in it, I stand up to look at it, and maybe I see it better. But it's a question of subjective approaches and perception, the way we see it differently, and that's the beauty of it all. But the man, what should one say to be president? That's a very interesting question that you came out with, that he wants to be president, and therefore you want to say what will make him president.
Yeah.
He's promising that when I come, I want to undertake digitization. And you say, there is nothing like digitization. Maybe.
No, I haven't said that.
In the same way.
I haven't said, I haven't even gone into that.
You haven't gone into that?
Yet.
I'll wait for you then. But let's see what other subject that you. This one look Balugu. Now, brother said I'm not on top of it. But the man, if any approval is made of, let's say, a project like that, and money is provided for, there are people to execute it, people work on it. If it's not being completed, or there could be one reason or the other. Of course, ultimately, the responsibility will be maybe not just Bawumia, but will be on the president and minister, particularly minister of, let's say, Agric or co. But as I said, I don't want to hinge everything that I'm saying here with you, that it's only on Baloguda. I'm taking one and say he has not done this, except, as I said, people accuse you that, oh, you said the
fundamentals
that's
wrong.
That's the only accusation when you talk about. But I wish you could talk to him. As I said, I've heard him talk a lot about this.
I've heard him too.
Very good.
Where's
invariably,
yes.
what he said, I'm convinced about what he said. I'm aware that this economy factors influence our economy. Some of which may not be from our own making. As I mentioned earlier on, from beginning, farming in this country at the moment depends a little on fertilizer. People put fertilizer. And we had envisaged that fertilizer may cost such an amount. Ukraine produces most of fertilizer for our part of the world. And Ukraine fertilizer, the prices are moving up because of what is happening. A few other things, oil, which is pushing the dancing city as against the dollar and co. It's based on the stock market. When they realize that it's going to be hard, oil pumping is going to be, they are going to bomb Iran. And if they are going to bomb Iran, instead of oil being 60 or 40, oil at one time came down to even 30. But now it's over 80 and moving on. Vulnerable economies like ours are at the mercy of the speculative market, and we suffer. But even then, under the management of Nana Addo, if you look at the West Coast, if you look at Africa, prices of oil you realize that ours, a liter, we pay less than $1 for it. But I'm not saying that's the best. If we can produce more and that we ourselves know how to refine it and things come out, which we've been out the difficulty, but it's not enough. We don't produce enough. Nigeria, if you produces, is the 5th producer of oil in the world. Oil prices are higher than they do. Energy difficulties that they are going through worse than ours. They haven't even undertaken free education, free SHS.
Yeah.
They haven't undertaken so many things that this country has been able to do. Either another Danko Akufo-Addo. But of course, as I said, it's difficult to satisfy us as Ghanaians and as people, not only as Ghanaians, as people. Things are not perfect, but so far, so good.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and I am saying this, and tell me if I'm saying this because I'm not a politician and I don't have a clue on politics. But I'm saying this.
I take you with a pinch of salt. What do you say?
I am saying this because I think some politicians delight in promises. All I'm saying this, Westby, do what you're doing. When it is progressing, hey, you don't even have to come and tell us anything. We know, we see. You see, so this is when I'll come back to digitization. I know that digitalization, when you take the human factor out and leave out to the digital component, great. That does extremely well.
And he's pushing it. And they say it's running away from your economy.
But I'm saying this, build it and let people start seeing, say, this is what it can do and we trust you. But don't be in a right to get. Here's one thing again. Promise organizer by the end of November, e-gates will be at the airport.
In fact, before the end of this year, if you arrive in Ghana at Kotoka Airport, you don't even need to go to an immigration officer. We are putting together the e-gates. You put your Ghana card, it will open for you, and you pass and enter. The e-gates will come into work in Ghana before the end of this year. In Ghana, before the end of this year.
Can we accomplish that by the end of November? Well, so it is like a promise, but there's some untruth in it. That's all I'm saying, that you earn what you want to do. Yes, sir.
KSM, it's the way you described it, and it's difficult to argue with you about it. The way you want to see it, difficult. But let me also give you a good example,
sure.
A very perplexing one. Of course, a lot of projects have been built. Roads, quite recently, just around here, so me and you live somewhere around, you see, the roads have been commissioned. And I'm talking about the flower pot and this. There quite a number of them have been. And the other projects which have reached its maturity and then almost completion. President Akufo-Addo, who has a little more time on hand, has been going about commissioning them. The other day, I just read it at one of the social media platforms. They said, look, the man, why is he commissioning them? He's now made himself Commissioner General. Why is he commissioning so many projects? I'm aware he's going to, within a very short time, about 100 projects that have been completed, he's going to commission them. When you light a lamp, I've learned from infancy that they say in the Bible, when you put up a candle, you don't hide it under the bed. You bring it out. Sometimes if you don't highlight it, people don't see it. People can go to the media and say that they've done nothing. Since he came, he did nothing. Tell me what he has done. He's going ahead to commission. I've done this in my time. I've done that in my time. I'm doing this, and it's almost this. People say, why? Why are you making yourself Commissioner General? Why are you now commissioning them? Why did you commission them yesterday? Projects takes a long time for maturity, and he's doing that. Coming back to your question now, to make matters short. Do it, and we will all see it. Sometimes we all don't see it. You've got to commission it. You've got to talk about it. 110 hospitals all over the country. 110. 11. Some people don't believe it. It's a hoax. But if it's completion, completion point and he's going to complete it. Some say don't. I believe that it's partisan, the way you put it, Maybe people want to, well, less is not partisan. So they don't want to see him even complete it so that people will praise him for it. It's like J. Kufuor, who has been an accomplished politician, he's been on the ticket of MPP. He's a founding member. He's been a president. He's been somebody who, the ticket of which is run. And then he comes out. This time around, he's at home, yes. He comes out to say that, forget about, well, he says, I think this man is good for the presidency. Let me extol his good size and let the world know. And let the Ghanaians know if they have confidence in what I've been able to do or have not been able to do. This is what I'm talking about. Some say, no, why? You are a statesman, don't talk about it. We have several candidates. Why you choose him alone? It's amazing. It's mind-boggling. So you should choose somebody who is not on the ticket of MPP and say the person is better than Bawumia. Is that what people want to hear? And people are attacking him for it. Attacking President Kufuor for saying that the story is that I'm not talking about something from Mars. But I have seen this man when he was a young man. I have seen him do this. I have him present papers. I have seen him that I think he'll be a good president. It's only one vote he has. But he's only mentioning it. People are saying, don't talk about it. Keep it. But as I said, it's partisan lenses and therefore partisan talk. Maybe when I'm sitting here, I'm partisan. But this is the way I also see it. But let's compare ideas. And the facts.
And I'm glad you brought that up because I'm on record and I have the tapes and everything to show that I said on my show, I said, hey, I didn't expect President Kufuor to come and say, I endorse Mahama or for that matter, even Alan. I said, it's on record. I said that.
I'm glad you did.
I did. What do I think about this? I'll tell you what I think about this, folks. I'll tell you plain. It doesn't surprise me one bit that he endorsed Bawumia. It doesn't surprise me. And I'm surprised that people are surprised that he has endorsed Bawumia as the rightful candidate. Do you know why it doesn't surprise me? Because Kufuor is a UP man through and through. Do you know the UP? That's the origins of the MPP. It's called the UP, United Party. One day I get lawyer Anochi to come and give us some history. The whole thing started called United Party, and that was the same party that eventually metamorphosed into the Progress Party, PP. You know, and PP is the same party that eventually transformed itself. It's now called the New Patriotic Party. And I'm saying that Kufuor is a UP man. There's no question about that. Kufuor's foundation and everything is UP. So having said that, why would it surprise me that he is actually endorsing a UP presidential candidate? Folks, let's be real. Did anybody think that the statesman, President Kufuor, wanted to say, actually, I think that we should move for Mahama? No more expertise. Or did you expect that the Kufuor will come and endorse maybe Alan or maybe Cheddar? No! If Kufuor is going to endorse anybody, it's going to be the MPP presidential candidate because he's an MPP man through and through. Even as a statesman, he has his political affiliation. But how? I said that. It's a record. And I'm sure that there are people are, but what I said was this, and I'm going to ask you, yeah, I understand. I said, where I beg to differ with senior, what they say in senior. Yes. Where I beg to differ with senior is when he said that he is the man who can single-handedly revive the economy of Ghana. That's when I said I beg to differ. Because the record now shows he hasn't done well with the economy.
I disagree.
Okay.
KSM.
Yeah.
I don't violently disagree with you. I disagree with you violently. I disagree with you. what he's saying, of course, Bawumia is not just an individual. He represents, and he said, this is a man whose time has come now. And I believe that he's an economist, yes? He's been a banker. He has an idea of what are the things. Maybe it's a bit exaggerated to say he's single-handedly. But when he says so, he's the president, makes a decision according to our constitution.
Yeah.
And he will do, he's the first gentleman of the, but when you say that his records haven't, I say, what do you mean by that? In that case, then let's go and look for another candidate from what you are saying, because the leading candidate, so far as, excuse me, that's what I see, is between Dr. Bawumia and my very good friend too, John Mahama. He has also had a record. Not just a vice president, but you can compare themselves between vice president and vice president. That's happened a long time ago. But he's also been a president. Maybe a record, unless you want to convince me, which I'm ready to listen, that his record as a president, on his time of governance, this country did better than what Nana Addo has been able to do so far. These are facts, figures. We look at them, and then we could debate it. We could debate it. And as I said, I'm ready for that kind of debate. Not only me and you, but all Ghanaians will debate it and say what it is.
Which I think they are doing already.
Very well.
Yeah,
they are doing
very
that.
already.
Some will say that, great, there's no comparison. And I'm saying that, and I'm sincere in this, unless you think I'm a politician, I'm only rattling what will make my government win or will make my president win.
You have to.
Yes.
And I mean, what?
Even then I have to. But putting that aside, I'm saying that so far, Nana Addo is done great. Maybe I'm subjective.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm subjective. But
yeah,
you are as well, you are subjective a bit.
Yeah.
If you take it from another angle. I'm not accusing you.
No, I understand. I understand.
Yes.
I understand. I understand.
This is what it is.
Yeah. You know, what's the matter?
Yes.
What I have said all the time that people believe, people don't, is that my focus is on nation building, how to build a nation.
That's great.
And I'm also on record to have said that when Bawumia said that when the fundamentals are weak, the economy will expose you.
That's right.
I am on record to have said that I agree 100% with that statement.
Yes.
But here too, my only disagreement was that if he had made that statement, as he himself calls an economic truism, if he had made that statement, said this is an economic truism that affects anyone in power, when the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you, then there's no case.
Yes.
But he said it in the context that it applies only to the administration of incompetent Mahama.
The Ghana cedi has obtained the dubious distinction of being the weakest performing currency in Africa at this point in time. Interestingly, the NDC Green Book claims exchange rate stability as one of their unprecedented achievements. In fact, you can engage in all the propaganda you want, but if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you.
No. I don't think that's what Bawumia meant, and that's what that's not the way I understood him. He says it's a truism.
Yeah.
And so he said that you mentioned it. It's a truism, and it applies to all governments. And I believe that is exactly what he meant. But you see, let me also in defense, weak defense maybe, if you, from your angle, say that, look, we had said that based on what we believe, we were doing well. The figures proved it so. The numbers proved it so. This economy, it was one of the fastest growing economies before COVID. Facts. Tell me I'm lying. or tell me it's not true. Is it out of mismanagement or competence? It's not out of incompetence. Then we say we blame COVID. You say, oh, you've overflogged it. COVID, everybody had COVID, and why are you alone? Talk everything. In any case, some even argue in a very pedestrian manner that this is an economy that a lot of people have come to dash Ghana, certain things, some monies, and then they can go ahead and even say that the monies were stolen. They say, Ghana, how much money can you steal? They even make it look like President Nana Addo has stolen billions. This man has stolen billions. You have eaten and you couldn't recognize him. You would have been like somebody making a film with his, everything. I would have nothing. Prove it in Auditor General and Co. They will definitely find out. But put that aside. We say COVID brought us down. But after COVID, we are growing up again. As I talk to you now, I can point out that economy had picked up to 6.9 and it's going 7.1. It may even reach 8. That shows that indeed we're not just telling stories.
Yeah.
That's a fact that the economy is picking up.
Yeah.
The only thing that people will say that you said you won't go to even IMF. You have gone to IMF. They said the COVID made it so. But investor confidence now is coming.
Sorry.
Investor confidence is coming.
Yeah.
We are getting what we are supposed to do. Everything else is on course. Even at a time in a year, we are having elections. Ordinarily, from time immemorial, since I started reading what I know, what is happening, getting to what IMF and other development partners would do is that they warn you that getting to election, don't spend too much. If you spend too much, it will dislocate your economy and things will get up, so we won't even give you money at that time. Around this time, the economy is being managed in such a way that inflation is coming down. It was a 50-something. Now it's coming down to 50. When you say people don't believe it, and they don't want you even to say it.
Well,
and I'm talking about also the GDP. It's also moving.
Yeah.
It's a tragedy that one will wonder, is it mismanagement? Now I'll leave it to you.
Yeah.
Make your own.
No, but while this is going on, and yes, GDP is going, now if I want $1, I have to cop up 17 cities plus.
I agree.
And the cost of that directly translates to pockets.
I agree.
And what people were making, even though on paper it sounds like everything is going okay, what people were making in 2016,
not that everything is
the value of the CD has become so, unfortunately.
People talk about no. Listen.
No. What I'm saying is that this is how people judge.
I agree. Sometimes.
Sometimes. So to hear that, we are doing well, is what I'm referring to, that the government tells us how we should feel.
Well, you mentioned
we will not make an arrangement for us to tell them how we feel. Go ahead.
I agree with you, KSM. I agree with you that sometimes what is coming on reality and what people theoretically may feel it may be at variance, and we need to marry the two. And governance, that's what governance is about. That's what people like you will also have to reflect what you think and what people feel from where you sit. Now, I did say that we do well now, so it's picking up. There's a difference between the economy is picking up. We were almost tottering. We were almost sinking. The banks nearly collapsed. We had to do and take haircut. People were not very, very, very pleased. And who will be pleased? Please, that you save your money, and then you're hoping for the ready time, so that when you are old and you need money for medication, you want to go to hospital and take care of yourself, you can't work again, and then look, this is hard to take. But we are not the only one who did it. Several other countries, sometimes those who you are dealing with in terms of giving you a little support to ensure that people don't suffer much. They say they've got to do this, got to do this. And when they say my people will suffer, say, well, it's deal with your own problems. That's what it is. But as I said, having gone through this minimal hurt that we want to wreak on the people of this country, which even the minimal, as you want to talk about, is very, 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 very difficult to swallow. Fortunately, the economy is picking up. Not because we were incompetent, but because of what happened. And people don't want to accept that. They say, it is because of what happened. Now that we are talking together, yeah, it's picking up. The inflation and then the CD dancing, as we're talking now, it's based on our import system. And the fuel is based on, what is it? I mentioned about fertilizers and all other things that our import-based economy brought along over what was happening. Now we are handling it. Now it's picking. It's unfortunate. It's being handled well. Now at the neck of time when we are going to, government suffers sometimes over that. And people may even say that we want to punish you for that. But it will be at the expense of what you refer to, nationhood.
Yeah.
It will be at the expense of the nation, which can now trot, which can now move faster. And that's what I'm saying. And me, I'm convinced about that. And I'm saying with sincerity that under the vision, under the management, under the way one captures the economy and things, what we should do to make sure that everything else should run well. I mentioned Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and maybe I do you too much, and I'm doing it because I think, like you, nationhood is the key. That's what I'm saying. KSM. You may disagree with me, unfortunately. That's what you wanted to say.
And like I keep saying that most of the things you're talking about, I agree with you.
I'm happy.
But I just said
a few things I'm unhappy. I am also not happy for the few things that you disagree with. They are very, very critical.
Oh wow. Anyway, so moving along as we talk, we've had some great conversations, and should I say, I appreciate everything you have said, you know, and let me say this too, that I didn't expect you to say anything different, because it is your party. You must.
Then I'm not happy.
You're not happy? Oh, you should be happy.
Yes.
So we are going into the election.
Yes.
And let's say December 8th, 9th or something.
Yeah.
Let me say 2 days after you wake up.
We know the results.
So we know the results 2 days after, and it's not Bawumia who is president. How would you deal with it?
I feel bad. I feel that's unfortunate. I will not be happy. In ordinary parlance, it will happen. But assuming it happens in the unexpected, it turns out that way, life goes on. Bawumia, as an individual, will not go hang. No. What is offered to help this country. He's offered to serve this country. He's been a vice president for 2 terms. Yes, he's an accomplished individual. But
do you agree with the perception that he was Leonardo's choice and it was imposed on the party? I wouldn't even say it's a perception, because people talk about it and they claim they have the facts to back that.
It was imposed on the party.
Yeah, he was imposed on the party.
No, it was Leonardo's choice.
Yeah.
No, but that's what the president is supposed to do. The president is to choose his running mate.
Fantastic.
And Leonardo did that, exactly that. I don't want to go into the details of what might have happened. But then everybody will scatter around for somebody you want to.
That's true. Rollins picked Mills.
He picked Mills out of.
Yes, and
my good lecturer, Mills. He was a tax expert, and he was there, and he was chosen. He's not held a card before and not stood on the platform before. He was chosen. I don't see how different.
No, I'm asking to the extent that the MPP party believes that it was a needless imposition because there were other people who could have.
There will always be.
There will always be other people. Okay.
There will always be other people who
true.
Will. Some of them will even lobby for them to. It's an elevated position. It's you have first, second, third gentleman of the realm. Look, it's after all, it's only a bad soldier. Keep on saying.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to become a general in the army?
Yes.
It's beautiful to do that, but it's a question of competence. It's a question of agreeability. It's a question of what you want to look for in a vice president. And definitely, looking back what has happened so far, Nana Addo didn't make a mistake.
Okay.
And whatever it is, even if it was not his wish or some other people's wish, it's turned out to be a blessing for the party.
Okay.
And that's why the party had decided that here you are, continue with it.
Okay.
We think, indeed, you are a great choice. We are even not saying for the party. We are saying that for this country. Maybe sitting where you are, you may not see it that way. But standing where I am,
I like that I'm sitting and you are standing. My fana.
Oh,
and this is not.
It's come too early.
It's come too early. You ever say about? We'll do it again.
Okay.
After the election. Whoever is the president, I don't care. Let's come and let's talk again.
I will be happy to have you.
Fantastic.
Or even whatever you want me to be.
Fantastic.
I will be happy.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yes.
I'm glad to hear
and
that.
We will talk about old things. We talk about the old days.
Yes.
We talk about family ties.
Family ties.
All these things.
Your brother, the great Freddie Blay.
That's right.
Which I linked up only. I found out only today that was your brother. I found Freddie Blay Muse. For the young ones who don't know who Freddie Blay was, one of the greatest boxers we have ever had in this country.
Thank you.
And he was a very good friend to my elder brother as well.
The elder brother, I was his young boy, ironing for him.
Oh, really?
His shoes were together. I was living with them for some time when I come back from to school for holidays.
Okay.
He was such a great person. I miss him. It's passed on, but
yeah, he has.
We all are getting in the lounge.
Yes.
Be ready.
Yes.
But it brings me memories from
back,
long time
back
ago.
in the day. Yeah.
Yes.
Folks, we have done a lot. And he has promised you, say, after the election, whoever he's ready to sit down with me again. So, folks, let me tell you that after the election, I'll be back here with my good buddy, my old family friend, Wasibewu.
We talk about nationhood.
We'll talk about nationhood. Thank
right.
you. You know, every time I'm talking about nation building and I say it's all about building the nation. So we'll come back. And the next time we meet, we'll be talking about nationhood. Because I know you were a CPV man long ago. And next time, I know when we start today, I probably will finish.
Why not? I'm not. It's of public knowledge.
Yes.
It's notorious. Why not? I was.
Yes.
But my antecedent itself, it's MP.
Oh, really?
MVP.
Okay.
It has the UGCC.
Okay. So you went back home.
But I went back home. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I understand.
It's only God who doesn't change his mind. It's only God.
Show some love. What's the mail? It's been great hanging with you, Freddie. I'm so happy we have had this chat. And I also feel privileged that you let me into your house.
Oh, why not?
Come, KSM, let's have a conversation.
That's right.
You know, so it's been really a great experience.
I hope it was. Thank you.
Fantastic. So, folks, until we come back your way again with another guest, it's KSM in the house of Wasimewu, Freddie Blay, saying, for now, we are out of. Let the whole world say, yeah.
KSM Show.